This is ABC DVD, two brothers' alphabetical journey through our highly evolved DVD collection. I'm Josh.
I'm Noah.
And today we're talking about X-Men, the original comic book movie of these X-Men.
These X-Men.
These X-Men. These guys in suits and what have you.
And I could say this to the end, but I'm going to do it at the beginning because I can do that.
All right.
I have feelings about this movie.
Well, it's good.
I can't say I love it. I can't say I hate it, but it's like I do recognize it has its place in hero movies of the time. It's like it is that transition period between like the really bad movies of the 80s.
I actually wrote these down because this came out in 2000. And to the history of superhero movies, first, I kind of want to point out that this movie is 22 years old, which I don't like that. And if we were talking about an equivalent movie when this movie came out, we'd be talking about like the Christopher Reeve Superman or the Tim Burton Batmans, and that kind of made me sad inside. That's the equivalent time period that we are at of 20 years. But yeah, this is, in the history of superhero films, we have the older ones of the Christopher Reeve Superman, the Michael Keaton Batmans, and then they went bad. They went bad for a while, and then Blade came out 2 years before this and saved Marvel as a company, and then 2 years later, Spider-Man came out, showed that superhero movies could
be taken seriously.
It could be profitable. It could be good and profitable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like Nolan's Batman and the MCU that it showed it could be really good and profitable as well. So this is that like middle ground area.
Yeah. So it is better than it was.
Yeah.
But since I'm so deep into the MCU stuff now, looking back, you're like, oh, what did we put up with?
You can see why it's like, okay, this was really good at the time, but now looking back, we've evolved from this. So but it did very well. It was just shy of 300 million worldwide when it came out. It was directed by Bryan Singer, who has done Bohemian Rhapsody, Jack the Giant Killer, and Valkyrie, and I'll add another one for future comments, Apt Pupil. Starring Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier. He's known mostly for Star Trek The Next Generation, but he's also in Robin Hood Men in Tights and a lot of voice acting, things like that. He was in the original Dune.
Dune.
Hugh Jackman as Wolverine or Logan. He was in Les Miserables, The Greatest Showman, Real Steel, other things.
Other things.
And Ian McKellen as Magneto, or Eric Lynch. He's Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, Gods and Monsters, and Apt Pupil. Hence why I wanted to say that Bryan Singer probably wanted him for a reason. So, the synopsis. In a world where mutants, evolved superpower humans exist and are discriminated against, two groups form an inevitable clash. The Supremacist Brotherhood, which is not what they're called. It's the Brotherhood of Mutants, and the pacifists of the X-Men, which aren't pacifists. They fight. So
you don't like this one.
I don't like this. I should have done this off the cuff. I'm upset with you, synopsis. Boo on you. But yeah, so we open like any good comic book movie with the Holocaust.
Well, before that.
Oh, before the Holocaust.
Fine. Before that. There is a voiceover over all the
credits.
The credits, which does not happen a lot, where they do it before the movie even starts.
Evolution.
You have evolution. And the first thing I was like, it's like, Professor, I don't think that's how evolution works. So all of a sudden, like, we're going along, and then boom! Humans exist.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, there is no big leap forward. I think that's the whole point of evolution.
Well, even that's the suspenders of disbelief. This usually takes a while, and then like a random mutation of like this person can stand to drink other animals' milk. That was a leap in evolution. It helped with but no,
I am going to nitpick. You're all going to scream at me, but I'm going to do it because I'm mad at this movie.
That is your superpower. You find nits and you pick them.
Yes.
The Holocaust. We're not going to make fun of that.
Well, I'm going to.
Okay, fine.
Because I have to point out that these are very patient Nazis.
Yes.
They let him hang out there and scream and do his little thing before someone comes out and is like, wait a second, we're Nazis. We can hit children.
Yes.
But it's like, no.
It's showing the
origins
of Magneto. Bryan Singer did complain about directing this film of he had a lot of characters to introduce with a lot of powers and not a lot of time. And that is one of the failings of this movie.
I wrote this down later, but we'll talk about it now, is I have not seen a movie that explains so much, but you have to have already pre-knowledge of the product to understand what's going on. Yeah. And I understand that at this stage of popular opinion that not a lot of people were into comics. Like a lot of us might have remembered the X-Men cartoon. Yeah. If you were a millennial and you had Saturday morning cartoons, that was a thing.
That was the thing. The X-Men cartoon and the X-Men arcade games. That's how I knew any of these characters.
But it's like it takes these moments to explain so much, and you're still going, wait, what?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then we kind of leave the Holocaust, and we're in the not too distant future. So. Now, I suppose.
Yes, down south with Rogue. And she...
her traumatizing, Holocaust traumatizing, hers is kissing a boy.
Well, I have to laugh at the line. It's the punch-up writer. And she goes, and we're going to go up to Alaska. He's like, well, isn't it cold up there? And that's what makes it an adventure. I'm like, does making things cold make an adventure?
Well, I guess if you're a southern person never been around cold, that's slightly adventurous.
It's like, if it's cold, it's an adventure. But yes, no, she gets her mutant powers and basically sucks the life out of a boy.
Yeah. Ooh. This isn't R-rated. No. Just that's her. She can't touch people without draining them of their life force, or as we learn later, gain some powers from it.
But yeah, flash forward to the fanciest Senate hearing ever, with slidey doors and lights
and gold and.
But basically we're getting a look at McCarthyism, us and them, from evil Senator Kelly basically saying, I don't trust them. We need to protect the children.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how many communists are in it? It's like, how many mutants and what can they do? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fill in any blank where it's an us versus them. Yeah. Which I know.
Hence why we have the Holocaust, character with Magneto of saying, it's one of those things of, no, he has legitimate concerns. He's lived through this.
No, he knows what happens when it turns us versus them. And that was the original intent of the comic book, of showing, when it's an us versus them, everyone loses.
Yeah. Yeah, because in a lot of the cartoons, and this movie will deal with it, of the X-Men are kind of on a two-front war of, they're trying to fight the Brotherhood from killing people, and they're also trying to fight the people from killing mutants. And it's like, they're like the UN without guns, just saying, hey, calm down, you two, they're fighting us as well.
We get the talk between Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, who look so young.
I know.
It's like, wow, I guess 20 years is a long time.
Ian McKellen almost didn't do this movie because he was offered the Gandalf role about the same time. And he, since that one was filming 3 movies at once, he needed to get it going at 2000, around the same time of 2000. And so they changed the filming schedule on this to get him out sooner. So he barely left this one and went right out into Gandalf because Bryan Singer believed in him. So it was like, well, that is like, I'm glad because he's a great Magneto and he's a great Gandalf.
Oh, yeah, I mean, got no complaints. But basically they have their talk of here's the two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
We flash to northern Canada.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's when I think small towns in Canada, I think professional fighting pit in the bar.
The cage fight, because those Canadians, they're rough.
They're angry.
They don't mess around.
But we get introduced to Logan / Wolverine. Yeah. He is definitely strong. He takes a beating.
Keeps on kicking. Everyone, it kind of outs him for what he is in the bar.
Well, yeah, he pulls
and the small-mindedness of people around him. And
he obviously is not taking any guff. He fights his way out, and then Rogue, who's wandered up to northern Canada because it's an adventure. Stows away in his little camper.
Yep, and then kind of mocks him, and it's like, Rogue, don't mock the man who's helping you.
In Deus Ex Machina, I was like, shouldn't you buckle up? You could get in a car accident. Oh no, a car accident.
But I do have to say the healing graphics were impressive at the time.
No, and it is showing what his real power is. It's not the claws.
No.
It's that he can heal real quickly.
Yeah, and we get the introduction of 2 more mutants of Storm and Cyclops.
Yeah, which I remember thinking this when I watched this in the movie theater. I still think it now. Why can you not take off your seatbelt?
Yes.
She is fumbling with everything.
Well, she's not pushing the button.
I know. She's pushing everything but the button.
I know. It's that kind of those TV commercials of, oh, do you have trouble making an egg? Oh, it's like, make it look hard to crack an egg. Make it look hard to unbuckle yourself. It's supposed to be like it cinched and it's caught. And
I know, but it just looks silly. But Storm and Cyclops come save them from this other mutant, Sabretooth. And then we just fade to black.
Yeah, and then we go
to the evil lair.
The evil lair, and there are things in this that I do like. That's all metal, and that the Newton's cradle is going off without strings. There are clever things, but also I kind of go, later on, it's like, put some wheels on that chair, man. You don't have to
scratch up the floor. Well, we also introduced to a character, Toad.
Yes.
Who I want to point out, the actor
is Ray Park.
Who is Darth Maul.
The body of Darth
Maul. He's actually a very good martial artist.
Yes.
He just doesn't always have the voice
that they want
or presence to be
a leading man. Yeah. They were going to have like Toad be a hunched over kind of nerdy guy, and then when Ray Park got the job, I was like, no, we're going to give him some more moves and
a little more chops,
yeah.
But no, we get the sinister layer of this. How dare you lose the person I wanted, and then
Magneto.
Magneto is mad.
Yeah.
But then we go to the X-Men layer, and it's all shiny and new,
and Dr. Jean Grey, who was at the senatorial thing, is now an actual doctor.
She's a doctor, and she can move things with her mind.
Yeah.
But Logan escapes and he finds himself in a school.
Yeah, I do like the introduction of Charles Xavier's psychic powers this way, of having just the voices,
the whispering,
just kind of funneling Wolverine where he needs to be.
Mm-hmm. But this is where you get the first of a few Professor X expositions. Let's bring all the people who've never read a comic up to speed, and it
is a long exposition. It's an exposition montage of not only who am I, where's the school for, who are you, who's the bad guy, what's going on, and it's like, okay, we have to go. No, I believe that this conversation went from the school to the stables to the outhouse, back into the school to the underground lair.
I kind of wanted them to have a sandwich in their head, like, we've been here a while.
It's like nighttime again. I wouldn't believe
And it's like, I really want like the other X-Men, he does this every time we meet someone new.
It's like some of these kids were babies, but they're still getting the exposition.
But it is jarring to me only because I understand the complicated nature of you have to explain.
It's a necessary evil, but
it's also like
we've seen it done better now.
You dumped it all on the audience right there.
Just for funsies, the mansion is an actual important mansion. It is the Charles Xavier mansion, but it has been in many other film projects. One of them is Billy Madison. It's his family mansion, but
Swan.
It's not the first superhero movie. Well, this is probably the first superhero was in or around it's also Lex Luthor's mansion in Smallville, and also Oliver Queen's mansion in the Arrowverse. So, if you need a big comic book mansion, apparently this place in Vancouver will do you good. So,
okay.
Yeah. Just want to point that out more.
But then we go back to Senator Kelly, who apparently has access to a presidential helicopter.
Yeah, because senators get to do that.
Yeah, you get your own helicopter.
Yeah.
But, he's talking about how he's going to, browbeat everyone to vote for his mutant separation.
And registration.
All this stuff. Yeah. But then he realizes...
Oh no, he's been kidnapped by mutants.
Yeah, we get Mystique, who's a shapeshifter, and they're kidnapping him Bond style. They're taking him to an island in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. I'm going to stop because Anna Paquin as Rogue, she does a phenomenal job.
Roger.
Sorry, not Rogue. Anna Paquin is good as Rogue, but that's not who I want to talk about. You're right. Rebecca Romijn as Mystique. She does a phenomenal job. She never gets to play Mystique in her natural form in her own movie. She does show up as the Easter egg in the Days of Future Past one, I think, or something.
Oh, okay.
And she's now in a Star Trek show, so awesome there. But the Mystique makeup took about 9 hours to apply, so they try to get her all together and leave it on as long as possible.
Let's do all these scenes now.
Do all your scenes as possible. She was told she was not allowed to drink alcohol beforehand because then things wouldn't stay on her. And that she had to be very careful how she ate, she drank, she moved. It was very, very demanding, but she was always in good humor. On her last day of filming, she celebrated by having tequila with some friends. Well, as warned, don't drink, it reacts badly. She vomited blue all over Hugh Jackman. So,
but you have a story.
You have a story there, and it's like, you know what? Good for you, and you came back for 2 more movies, and I hope they made it better. But
no, she did. I mean, she's very. I think she's very striking in her scenes. That she definitely steals any scene she's in.
Yeah,
we get a switch, which I have a question mark of why would you switch there when you're obviously taking him to the island? Wouldn't you just progress?
Yeah.
Is you just take this moment scene where you go back to the X-Men lair where they're talking about like, oh, they grafted metal onto Wolverine's body. I have no idea how old he is. Well, fun little factoid.
Yeah.
Wolverine is from the 1800s.
Yes, we learned that.
We learned this from comic books. So he's very old.
He's very, very old. And
he was in Canadian Special Forces, which I think is funny because I think Canadian Special Forces.
I mean, Wolverine's backstory is the mystery MacGuffin of the trilogy, I guess.
Well, it's
almost all of
X-Men was like
of what happened. Where has Logan come from? What I really don't like about this movie is the forced love triangle between Wolverine, Jean Grey, and Scott Summers.
It is very forced.
And it's like, oh my god. If they had just done this movie, I would have been happy with it. It's like, oh, I'm going to shoot my shot with Jean Grey. And she's like, no, I'm with Scott. Leave it alone. And if he accepted that, that would have been something. But they keep pushing it through the entire trilogy, and it gets tiresome. Yeah.
But then we go back to the island.
Back to the island.
Where...
Put some wheels on that chair, man.
Magneto pulls them out. It's like, Magneto has built a little contact machine, you know, a smaller version, so you don't go all the way to the aliens. But it's like, it's these spinning rings that somehow...
Sci-fi spinning rings.
Sci-fi spinning rings. They can do anything. But this is going to turn everyone into a mutant.
Yeah, I usually think radiation, but in this case, magnetic fields can change your DNA. Yeah.
And send you halfway across the universe.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that, we're now back at the school, and Wolverine's having a bad dream.
Yep.
And then we get to see, and then Rogue, the teen girl, sneaks into his room and then gets penetrated.
Yep, she gets stabbed.
Yep.
But then we get to figure out that, she can steal powers and...
Yeah, heal herself using Wolverine. And then she's like, oh, that shun thing of you're an outcast among outcasts, which sucks to feel, but,
But then back at Eva Island, it is now Senator Stretch Armstrong.
I feel like we should do like the Super Friends. Meanwhile,
back at Evil Island,
Senator Squishface is hanging from a ledge.
And I really wanted Magneto to be like, Senator, how far do you think you were going to get?
Yeah,
I was like, what was your end goal here?
It's like, okay, yeah, you figured out you could go through the bars. You should have gone, well, instead of going through the window bars, why don't I go through the room bar? No. I'm a senator, I'm staying the course.
But it's like, no, he's turned into a squishy man and
falls off into the ocean.
Which, if anyone's ever had a squishy toy, if you get them wet, they're never going to be the same again.
It does not feel the same. And he makes it to the beach. And I do want to point out that this is, I don't know first ever, but I'm going to claim it is the first ever Stan Lee cameo in a comic book movie. He is buying a hot dog on the beach.
Oh, I completely missed it.
I know. This is a blink. This is when they didn't want to make it obvious. He is, you see the hot dog vendor, you see the, all these things, and the guy buying the hot dog is Stan Lee. So, but yeah, Stan Lee.
But, but then we were back at school, and there's a fake Bobby.
Yeah, and Bobby is one of those actors that I have an internal problem with. This is not a problem at all. He's played by Bobby. This is a personal problem I have with the actor. He's a great actor, but Shawn Ashmore is a twin, and his twin is in a lot of things I see as well, and I have problems remembering who's in what. So this is Iceman. His brother is in like Warehouse 13 and is in Smallville.
Yeah.
Actually, they're both in Smallville because when you have a twin and they're both actors, there's a guaranteed episode where they're going to duplicate you and make you both be on screen. So that's just my own personal problem with Shawn Ashmore's Bobby. He does great. Just a random twin tangent there.
But basically, it's a shape-shifting ruse to get her to run away. Basically, like, no one likes you, go away.
Mystique was mean.
The introduction of Cerebro, which is Professor X's, giant tracking device.
And here's where I think they could go. It's like they keep throwing things at the audience of, hey, maybe don't introduce Cerebro in this film. Maybe save that for another film. Maybe just have the X-Men and just find other ways to track people down. There's a lot of deep comic book in this movie that you could have toned back.
Yeah, and you just got to gloss over and be like, trust us, this is what it does.
Yeah.
But Logan takes the motorcycle. The motorcycle has a speed-up film button.
And that he's really good at driving in pure darkness. Of his healing ability allows him to, have superhuman balance.
But as everyone's away, Mystique is allowed to
just wander
around, and get in there and sabotage with some green goo.
Sabotage. And that's we go back, I guess, to the train.
Yeah, no, Logan's able to track her down. They have a heart-to-heart saying, hey, running away isn't going to solve anything.
And I do like they kind of point out the misdirect from the beginning where Professor X says, I don't know if Magneto's actually after you, and then just expect everyone to forget it. But I think with an action movie like this with so much exposition that you do forget that, Magneto might not be after Logan. He might be actually after Rogue. But the scene where he shows up, having him be able to stop Wolverine because of his metal body, though cool in this movie, causes so much problems later down the line. And that's why the comic books did not allow that to happen.
It's like, that's a problem that we can't use our cool new toy.
Yeah.
But basically he gets Rogue. And I'm going to give credit for credit's due. The scene where he pulls all the cops' guns, which is
this is a phenomenal scene.
Is I think it is done very fun, where he pulls all the guns, he's pointing at the cops, and Professor X basically takes over as henchman and goes, okay, if you want to play Russian roulette, fires a bullet and stops it right in front of the cop's head and says I can't stop all of them, Charles. What do you want to do here?
People are gonna die.
And it's like, this is one of those moments like, no. This is a good character development of no, you have two masterminds kind of playing chess in real time. And this scene I like.
Yeah, this even at the time this was like this is the highlight. This is showing what superpowers can be and why they're intimidating.
But then we go back and Professor X realizes what's going on. We get a few flashbacks of movie we've already seen because Professor X didn't get to see this part of the movie, so he has to be brought up. So we have to watch it.
Yeah, knows that. He's going to, turn people into mutants somehow. But
Senator Kelly liquefies because
he's done with. He's told his story. The message has been sent, and also to show that Magneto's wrong. Yeah, that it's not going to work.
But so we're going to go use the machine. Professor X gets a headache.
Because we can't have him there because he's too powerful. So, and then Jean Grey tries the Cerebro, and though dangerous, it immediately worked. We don't need to watch it.
No, we're done with this. Yeah. But we know that they're going to LSIN for this UN conference. Yeah. Everyone's going to be there. Yeah.
We get them suiting up to go out, and we get the wink and a nod for the comic book fans of, you actually go out in these outfits of what would you prefer? Yellow spandex? Ha ha ha! That's what they wear in the comics. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it's like I said, it's like I grow now. I have to appreciate, teenage self might have. Well,
from this point on to a point I'm going to point out, there are a lot of quips and jokes.
Yes.
And not a lot of them are good.
No.
But, because they fly in and you hear a guard talking to another one saying, sounds like a storm's coming in, right after they asked Storm to
bring the thing in.
Fog. But
basically they get to LSIN, and this is where all the fight scenes start.
You get the fight scene in the lobby with the metal detector joke that I actually did enjoy. Yeah. That one I did enjoy.
Mm-hmm. But, you get Storm fighting Toad, and you get probably the most infamous line of this movie, which is, what happens when a Toad gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else that gets...
Now, this is a terrible line. This apparently came from an earlier script written by Joss Whedon, which they kind of got rid of because it was too quippy and funny. Now, you wouldn't think it was that great because this line sucks. But I wanted to point out that there were a whole bunch of quips and jokes leading up to this fight that they decided to keep. And throughout an entire Joss Whedon script that we know from the Avengers, he can do. And my guess is that this line was supposed to be kind of a funny offhand of, what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning. And kind of like, same thing as everything else. And kind of wink and a nod and leave. But no, Halle Berry wanted to say it serious, so she said it serious. And I don't think Bryan Singer, cared.
Yeah, it's like at this point, let's just get it done. Yeah. One thing I have to note, and this is also nitpicking from the past, or from the future to the past, is the wire work.
Oh, God, yeah.
With the fights.
Yes.
Is painfully obvious.
I mean, jumping ahead, the ones on top of the Statue of Liberty are so eye-rolly bad.
Well, because it's like I know they were trying to maybe going for slow motion, but it's like he floats.
Yes.
In a way that physics does not work.
Yes.
But no, we do get a final showdown with Sabretooth and Wolverine on top of the
Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty.
Which I think is not to scale. I think that's bigger than what they're making it seem.
There's, like I said, a lot of things where you're just like, it's wrapping itself up quickly.
But they got captured. There's a monologue. They escaped. There's a fight.
And this is very much like the Bond level villain of Storm. Can you help us out? It's like, oh yes, why don't you do a lightning storm? It's like, well, she could have blown everyone around like it did.
There's other things she can do.
She could do other things. No, the movie doesn't work.
Yeah. And
they save the day. They save
I love they throw Wolverine on top of the machine, and he just needs to destroy the machine. But instead of destroying the part he's on, which would destroy the machine, he needs to jump down into the spinning rings and then allow Magneto to slow him down, so we can have this moment of tension.
Yeah, there are these moments where you're like, okay, I'm going along with you guys, but you're doing it in such a silly way that you're like, but what about that?
Yeah, what about that?
But what about that?
Yeah.
No, don't pay attention to that.
But then we get the healing power of a hug. That's a good hug. It's a good hug. Anything. And then we get epilogues setting up all the sequels.
Yeah, no, Professor X wakes up. Yeah. Everyone has happy endings. Yeah. Logan gets some answers for a sequel.
Not enough, but enough to get him going.
The mutant bill fails because, Mystique is playing, Senator.
Yeah.
Rogue gets to her flashy look of the stripe down her hair.
Yeah.
And Magneto gets to be in a plastic prison.
And they play chess, which I found reading up on this film amusing. That Patrick Stewart nor Ian McKellen knew how to play chess, so they had to be taught how to play chess for this scene. And I love that they brought in a grandmaster. It's like, anyone who just knew is like, move the horse there.
Yeah.
Move the knight there. Move the rook there. You just don't do an illegal move. We don't need you to be like these amazing chess players.
It's like you mark the board like, listen, you move your piece there, and then you move your piece there, and that's all it.
But it's like, these two old British guys don't know how to play chess. I thought that was like required, reading in all of the schools.
Excuse me, Bryan, what does the horsey do again? What does this horsey do? Does he jump over and we can king him?
Yep. So.
But and so that's where the movie ends.
I still like it, but there probably is a nostalgia factor to it. It is, doesn't live up to what our modern superhero mentality would say. This would be a lower tier superhero movie now.
I feel like this would be something Warner Brothers would make now.
I think it's still better than Warner Brothers.
It is. I just want to take a dig at Warner Brothers.
I know you do, but this still is. It's a cohesive story. It is heavy in exposition, as we mentioned, and that's probably why X-Men 2 might be a little bit better, because they already got past all the exposition. They expect you to remember the characters.
Well, it's a little tighter.
It's a little bit tighter. X3 is terrible, so
Well, and if we're gonna play the game of which X-Men do you like the most, I kind of like Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Better.
I mean, Logan is also amazing, but that's an R-rated one, so that's
Logan is its own kind of separate entity. Yeah. But it's like,
where Days of Future Past is an apt comparison, because that is also the founding of these mutants and they're introducing their powers but it did it a little bit more streamlined, a little more logically saying who's this, who's that, and what do they do.
Right, and I think comic book movies have come a long way where you don't have to be silly.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a dump of information, and it's like the audience will play along. You can bring them along bit by bit.
And that was the problem, I guess, of X-Men so early on, is that you needed to introduce
so many characters
versus where Blade just needed to introduce Blade and then the bad guy, or Spider-Man later on just needed to introduce Spider-Man and a bad guy.
No, and I think that's probably why we haven't seen, for many reasons, more X-Men movie once, because they had like this rise, this drop, this rise, and then they crater hard.
Oh yeah, they are some of the worst. They are some
of the best.
Some of the best. It's just who is directing it, what's the script, and how do they present it. It's just rough.
It is, but I mean, I think
this one's not rough. It's just is.
It's either you like it, you don't. I mean, like I said, it has its place.
Yes, I put it alongside of the Tim Burton Batmans of it's good for its time.
Yep, and I mean, it's like there are ones that are great. There are ones that you go, whew. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at you, Batman and Robin.
Yeah, the Schumacher Batmans. Those are bad. But it's that thing of when you see it once, it's fine, but you can't. You can only live once. You can't live twice. Mm-hmm. That's our next movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're still working on this. We're 22 episodes in, 23 by this point, and we still can't segue in.
I thought that one was better. I mean, it seemed logical. But yeah, we're doing another Bond film, this done a Sean Connery. So we go with the Mac Daddy himself of You Only Live Twice, which, as I recall, is going to be problematic.
We're going to have some commentary about ways
presenting yourself racially.
Yes.
And it's a Sean Connery, so dealing with how you treat women.
Yeah. But
but you know what? It's going to be fun anyway.
It's going to be fun anyway.
You know what? I would still say, especially with them bringing X-Men into the MCU, this is probably still important to watch.
Yeah, good time to get on. Start at the beginning.
And hopefully you've seen it. If not, why not? I don't think it's a bad movie. It just is. So. And
if you can dust off your old 007 collection and go way back
to You Only Live Twice, join us next week.
And we'll be doing that.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to a B-Roll Brothers podcast.
Podcast.
I'm going to do it in Boston accent. This is wicked, rich, and awesome.
Harvard Yard, and we're going to talk about a podcast.
Yeah. It's mad breakout, yo. All right.